Hello there everyone and welcome back to the channel. My name is Botox Games. Today I want to talk a little bit more about the Switch Online playtest, speculating on what it might be because I have an absolutely insane theory on what it might actually be. I think there's a chance it is Smash Bros. Melee. Let's talk about it. Alrighty folks, good Saturday morning. I hope you're having a great start to your weekend. Today we are going to talk a little bit more about the Switch Online playtest because this thing has been living rent-free in my head over the past couple of days ever since they announced it. To catch you all up, I'm sure you're familiar, but on Wednesday, Nintendo announced this mysterious Switch Online playtest. They had invites go up on Thursday morning. They went instantly. We know it is some sort of new feature for Switch Online, but also they say playtest. You don't really play test a feature, you test a feature. We know it will be a dedicated application because they're going to send download codes for it, and it will be 2.2 gigs in a size. So that's kind of like what we know for sure. The tweet announcing it did say it is a new feature, which frankly might spit in the face of everything I'm about to talk about in this video. And I guess I'm going to preface this by saying, like, what I'm about to say is total, like, tinfoil brain conspiracy stuff. If you are not into that kind of thing, maybe this isn't the video for you. Realistically, what I'm about to talk about is not going to happen. However, it is such an insane theory that I wanted to share it because I've been thinking about it, and, like, the more I think about it, the more it kind of does make sense. So I have this crazy theory based on all of these different pieces of information that we have coming towards the end of October that I think indicate or suggest that we could unironically be seeing either Smash Bros. Melee HD or some sort of Smash collection, including Smash Bros. 64, Melee, and even Brawl, maybe. So right now, the prevailing theory with the Switch playtest is that it will be some sort of GameCube NSO. Now, whether or not that will be native on the console, like through emulation NSO, or maybe it will be some sorts of streaming service where you stream the games to your console through the internet, that is the prevailing theory. Some sort of GameCube application for Switch Online. That is the next logical step for Switch Online. And that does make sense. I mean, I talked about it in a video a couple days ago. Nintendo is kind of running out of first-party games that they need to release for, you know, GBA and N64. There are always going to be a couple random examples here and there. But for the most part, we've gotten all of the heavy hitters out of the way. Ironically enough, the original Game Boy, I would say, is lacking the most in terms of, like, those games like Alleyway and stuff, right? So, and even there, for a while, we didn't have, like, Mario Land 1 for some reason. So the original Game Boy, I think, is what's lacking the most, which also isn't that exciting when they update. We're kind of running out of games, so GameCube NSO just kind of makes sense, especially because of the recent GameCube kind of controller shipment data. I talked about that as well, where these users on Family Boards have been tracking shipment data and basically have deduced that there are some sort of new GameCube controllers, potentially for NSO, being manufactured, being made. Basically, something is going on with GameCube controllers. Now, I did not mention this in the video the other day, but this also happened around the same time. Nintendo Switch firmware 19 came out, and that actually broke compatibility for a lot of people when it comes to their Switch GameCube controller adapters for Smash Bros., which is very suspect. Like, that's very weird that that happened in all of this smoke, right? All these other things are happening, and at the same time, compatibility for the adapter was breaking for a lot of people. So in my opinion, whatever this is like my actual prediction, whatever the Switch playtest thing is, I think in some way, shape, or form, it will be related to GameCube or a GameCube game, maybe multiple games, but something with GameCube is going to happen with this playtest. That is my official prediction. But I was talking with some friends, and one of them said something that kind of awoke in my third eye when trying to solve this puzzle of what this app could actually be, what this playtest could actually be for. Now, if you've been following the channel for a while now, back in August, I was making videos about how weird it is that there's no game releasing the week before Black Friday. Every year for the past more than 20 years, Nintendo has always had one of their major releases slotted the week before Black Friday, the week before Thanksgiving in the US. That is a consistent thing that has never really been broken. Now, if you go back to the early 2000s with the regional differences, it gets a little weird because games weren't releasing worldwide day and dates around the world back then as consistently. But ever since, like, the 3DS era, they have pretty much always had a game in that slot the week before Black Friday. So it's really weird that there isn't one, and I was kind of speculating, like, well, maybe there is still something coming out then. But then in the partner showcase, they announced Fitness Boxing 3, which Nintendo is publishing, and that's coming out in December. And I'll admit, when they announced that, I was like, huh, that's even weirder now, because you have Mario & Luigi Brothership, which is releasing on November 7th, which is, what, 3 weeks before Thanksgiving. Then you have Fitness Boxing 3, which is releasing, what, 3 weeks after Thanksgiving, or like 2 weeks after Thanksgiving, or something along those lines. It just didn't make sense to me that they would leave that week before Black Friday slot open when they've never really done that before. Now, granted, we are in a year of very weird times for Nintendo where we have almost always had a major direct in September or some sort of major Nintendo news in September, and that didn't happen this year. So it's not like they're adverse to breaking patterns that are tried and true for even decades, right? So maybe there is just no game before Black Friday this year. But what if there still is? What if there actually is an unannounced game releasing the week before Black Friday? So like I said, I was talking to one of my friends, and they pointed out to me that this playtest starts on October 23rd, with the codes being sent out on the 21st. So October 21st, which is, a Tuesday, I believe, or maybe a Monday. Exactly 1 month later is Thursday the 21st, which is the week before Black Friday. That's the slot that they would release in. So we have this playtest that lines up almost exactly 1 month before when this game could potentially release. We have all of this information suggesting that whatever this playtest is could be GameCube related because of the shipment data, because of the adapters kind of breaking compatibility with version 19 on the Switch, right? So we have reason to believe that whatever it is GameCube related. And then it dawned on me that the release date of Super Smash Bros. Melee is November 21st. What if they release Melee HD for what would be, I guess, the 13-year anniversary? It's not like a certain milestone anniversary, but what if that is one of their big holiday games this year? 2024 is also the 25th anniversary of Smash Bros. As a franchise. Smash 64 came out back in 1999 in Japan, so maybe it's not just Melee, right? Maybe it is a collection. Maybe it's a Smash Bros. All-Stars that includes Smash 64, Melee, Brawl. Maybe even get the 3DS game and Wii U in there. I doubt you would get those two. That'd be cool. But maybe you get those 3 original Smash games, because I do also find this a little weird. Smash 64 is still not on Switch Online. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. They have taken a long time to add certain games in the past for whatever reason. I mentioned earlier, Mario Land 1 was not added to the Game Boy NSO app for way too long, like over a year after Game Boy NSO came out. They added Mario Land, so it's not unheard of for them to, not put a game on Switch Online for an extended period of time. That doesn't really make sense to us. However, we have also seen it where it does matter, where with Game Boy Advance NSO, they did not put Mario vs. Donkey Kong on there. Mario vs. Donkey Kong is one of those Game Boy Advance games that usually when they release some sort of Game Boy Advance Virtual Console, Mario vs. Donkey Kong is like one of those games. It was included in the Ambassador program on 3DS. It was on the Wii U Virtual Console pretty early on, but then for whatever reason, it wasn't on Switch Online Virtual Console. Well, we know why. We know why it wasn't, because 8 months after they announced a GBA NSO for Switch, they announced the remake of Mario vs. Donkey Kong that came later. So obviously they didn't put that ROM on there because they knew, okay, we're going to be remaking this game. Similarly, they did not put Super Mario RPG on Switch Online because, well, once again, they probably already knew they were remaking that game, and they didn't want to include that in the service because that would kind of, give people less incentive to buy these new remakes. Now, we have seen it where, they add these original versions of these games to NSO afterwards, right? Link's Awakening being a big one where that came out, and that's on Switch Online. Same thing with like Mario 64, even though that was a little bit different because that was in the All-Star Collection and then that got delisted. But we have seen like a remake of a Nintendo game come out, and then later on they add the other game to NSO. But for Super Mario RPG, for Advance Wars also, for Mario vs. Donkey Kong, none of these games have been added to NSO because Nintendo knew they were going to be selling them again for full price. So maybe that's why Smash 64 hasn't come either. Maybe there is some sort of Smash collection that could kind of line up with the 25th anniversary of the series. It sounds crazy. It probably is crazy, but I feel like it actually could happen. And there are a few other things going on as well. Coincidentally, Masahiro Sakurai, the director of the Smash Bros. Series, the creator of the series, has been posting on YouTube for the past 2, maybe even 3 years now. His YouTube channel is ending production on October 15th, on Tuesday, October 15th. We do not know yet what the final video is going to be about. He said he will have a final, like, kind of special video after that point to finally close off the channel. But on October 15th, he is uploading the final, like, normal video for the Masahiro Sakurai on Creating Games YouTube channel, which is a great channel, by the way. He actually posted a video on Iwata yesterday, so definitely go check out that. It's very heartwarming stuff. But the reason I mention this is because I would not put it past Nintendo to tie in some sort of Smash announcements with his YouTube channel. While Nintendo isn't in charge of his YouTube channel, while they are not technically behind it, they have allowed him the usage of like assets and stuff on Nintendo games he's worked on to be shown in the video. So Nintendo knows about the channel. I'm sure they could see it as a pretty good marketing opportunity, especially because they know like how connected Sakurai is to the community, how important he is to Smash Bros. As a series, and how the fans kind of view him as like the Smash Bros. Guy, right? So I would not put it past them to tie in some sort of marketing in his final YouTube upload before he goes back to full-time game development. They could totally tie something in there where it's like, hey, this is the final video. Guess what? Here's a little look at my next project. Because that's another thing too, right? The Switch Online playtest is happening on the 23rd. Codes are being sent out on the 20th in the evening. So honestly, a reveal next week isn't like that unreasonable. For whatever this is, they're going to want to tell people what it is before it happens. They're not just going to give these codes out, you download it, and then it's whatever the app is, and then there's no explanation, right? Like, they're going to have some sort of video, or at the very least kind of write up on the website saying, like, this is what this playtest is actually for. I know some people think the secrecy behind this could be related to Switch 2 and the Switch 2 reveal. I would love for that to be true as well, but the secrecy is also just kind of to build up hype. I mean, think about how much we're talking about this now because they didn't just say what it was. And Nintendo knows what they're doing. They did this earlier in the year. I talked about this the other day, where when they teased Famicom Detective Club Emio the Smiling Man, they just put out that teaser that said Emio. And then people were like, well, wait a minute. This could be Fatal Frame because they do horror games. Nintendo publishes those in the past. But because we had that full week to speculate, it kind of did come down to like, okay, we actually figured out and solved that it probably is a Famicom Detective Club game because it had that red Nintendo stinger at the end of it. Nintendo doesn't do that for games they publish. They only do it for games they like own the IP for or something along those lines. So Nintendo is no stranger to doing teases in this way this year, which really makes me think the secrecy of the Switch Online test is just to drum up hype and get people talking and kind of speculating what it could actually be. We also have the new Bandai Namco Studio 2 or Studio S internal teams for Bandai Namco. So Bandai Namco, of course, develops the Smash Bros. Games at this point ever since, I believe, Smash 4, right? So they could totally have been working on this for more than that time, right? Like, these people were already working at Bandai Namco, but they just kind of reformed a little bit, restructured, and had these, like, official names for this team that's working on Nintendo projects. There were rumors a couple years ago, based on some job listings, that they were remastering a 3D action game for Nintendo. A lot of people think that could be related to Kid Icarus Uprising. I would love that as well. But they also had job listings back when they restructured for a 2D action game. What if that 2D action game is Smash Bros. Melee or some sort of Smash Bros. Collection? It could also just be the next Smash Bros. Game. That's totally possible as well, right? Like, I assume Sakurai, even if this is a collection that's happening, even if they are doing like a Melee HD or something, the sequel to Ultimate would still be in development. Like, that would still be coming, 2 or 3 years down the line. But some sort of stopgap release for Smash does kind of make sense. Like, Smash Ultimate sales, like, yeah, it's still selling, but some sort of collection, especially with Melee, this infamous game that people have been begging for a remaster of for so many years. To be fair, I have not seen as much of it recently, but like back in like 2016, 2017, Melee HD was like the dream. People were going crazy over the thought of Melee HD, and we've been getting a lot of very, very requested at Nintendo GameCube remasters recently. Most notably with the Thousand Year Door, possibly one of the most requested games of all time for Nintendo to remake. We also had, of course, on the SNES, we had Mario RPG, which, once again, another game that like people thought would never happen. Never in our million years did we think Mario RPG would get a full remake, but Nintendo is clearly listening to the community. So if that is the case, Melee HD kind of makes sense. Now, we've never seen 2 Smash Bros. Games on the same platform before. That's never happened. But with it being the end of the Switch's life cycle and kind of this in-between period where Sakurai was not working on games for seemingly a year or two, right? Focusing on the YouTube channel. And then, we're not going to get Smash Ultimate 2 or whatever, probably until like 2026 at the earliest, 2027 maybe. A little kind of collection release, maybe just Melee HD by itself, right? A little collection release to close off the Switch generation. It's basically just guaranteed free sales, Also, going back to the idea that it might be connected to his YouTube series ending and they might kind of tie in the marketing with that, the tweet announcing the final episode says, "As mentioned previously, I'll be wrapping up production of new episodes for my YouTube channel soon. Right now, it's looking like the last scheduled episode will release on Tuesday, October 15th. Now, maybe I am reading too much into that, but he said it's looking like it is scheduled to be released at that point. We already know Sakurai is done recording. Like, he's been done recording for months. I think back in June, he said he wrapped up recording. To be fair, there's a lot of editing and, like, art assets and everything that go into his videos, so maybe that part of it's not done. But to me, it's a little weird that he wouldn't know for sure as recent as 2 weeks ago that that's when it's happening. So maybe he said it's looking like it's scheduled for that day because he wasn't entirely sure where Nintendo would want to place it in terms of their marketing, especially because that is the week that Mario Party Jamboree releases. Mario Party Jamboree reviews will go up on Wednesday, October 16th, so once again, they're Tuesday, October 15th. That's the perfect time. It's right before Mario Party will kind of take over for the week. I don't know, man. I think this honestly kind of makes a lot of sense. I know I sound like a madman right now connecting all these dots that frankly probably don't even actually exist, but I needed to talk about it in a video because I have not seen anybody talk about this theory, and I just wanted to talk about it with you guys because I understand it's probably not going to happen the way I'm saying it, but all of the weirdness between this GameCube controller, this playtest, the fact there is no game the week before Black Friday, the fact that Thursday is the exact anniversary of Smash Bros. Melee, the fact that it is the 25th anniversary of the Smash Bros. Series, I don't know, man. It kind of does feel like something might be lining up here for it to be a Smash Bros. Related playtest. Now, I do want to address the elephant in the room. That is the wording in their tweet. I actually made a poll about this on my Twitter account, and most people think it is actually just going to be some sort of new feature, some sort of new social stuff, Miiverse, activity log, something along those lines. Maybe a voice chat app on your Switch itself now. So here's what the tweet says. "We will be performing a test related to a new feature for Switch Online on Nintendo Switch. And that right there, I think, is the most damning evidence for why this entire Smash Bros. Theory does not make sense. A new feature is not a game. However, you don't play test a feature. You don't play with a feature. You play test a video game. You test a feature. You play test a video game. Maybe the wording isn't as important as I'm, kind of thinking it out to be, but the fact that it is called the Nintendo Switch Online Playtest Program indicates that we will be playing a video game, does it not? So the wording of it being a new feature sounds more like, okay, well, maybe if it's, you're streaming Switch games over the internet, that's a new feature. Being able to stream cloud games is a new feature. Being able to use Miiverse on Switch or something along those lines, that's a feature. But GameCube NSO, that's not really a feature. I guess it kind of is, right? But not really. You're playing a video game. So the name Playtest Program, the wording in the tweet is a little weird, and I do think that is probably the biggest kind of nail in the coffin for my Smash Bros. Theory. But I would love to hear what you all think down in the comments below. I know maybe I was a little bit all over the place in this video because there are just so many different little pieces that I think kind of make this all line up. I feel like Charlie in It's Always Sunny when he's, doing the crazy conspiracy board. That's what I feel like right now. I have not seen anybody else talk about this, but I wanted to make a video. And hey, if I'm right, I gotta shoot my Hail Mary, because if I'm right, this video is gonna age so well, but it'll also age hilariously bad in like a week when we find out what this is. But let me know your thoughts on the theory down in the comments below. Of course, I would appreciate you subscribing if you are new here and you enjoy Nintendo Switch theories and speculations and all these types of videos. You guys have been killing it recently, especially on these playtest videos. People seem really thirsty to know what it actually is, which once again I think leads credence to the idea that Nintendo knows what they're doing. They know they're drumming up hype, which is why they didn't announce what it was immediately. They just know it's a hype thing for people to kind of speculate on. So I don't know, man. I could totally be wrong. I probably am wrong. Either way, we shouldn't have to wait long to find out what this is. But yeah, subscribe here. Follow me on Twitter. Follow my other channel, @Samiba. That'll be linked down below. And until next time, folks, peace.